knows it's him. I don't know if that's him or not. It's on up in the air. I can't tell. Different heads. His sword looks like it's in his right hand, not his left. That's his sword on down the bottom. It's in his right hand. Because that one looks like it's his left hand. The right hand's up there. That assistant.
As in the last wave we have is these guys here.
Right, I'm here with Gordon from GCT Studios, producers of Bushido, who agreed to answer some of my questions. How are you doing, Gordon?
Yeah, really good. Been a good show so far.
So, third edition coming soon.
Yep.
When can we expect product starts being released, like the book, for example?
Okay, well, it's penciled in to be for UK Games Expo, so that's the first week in June. If we reach that timeline, that's the anticipated timeline, but it may roll over slightly beyond that. We don't want to release something if it's not 100% right. So
Definitely by Gen Con.
But definitely by Gen Con, yeah, 100% on that, yeah.
So, the cards are changing.
Yes.
So, what format are you going to release them? Is it going to be like a complete big deck, or maybe faction decks, or?
We're going to release it as faction decks, so, and the faction deck will be all the current cards for that faction. So it's all the profile cards plus any special cards, whether that terrain or items or events or whatever pertinent to that faction will be in that one deck. Yeah. Cost for that is undetermined yet, but it's going to be as low as possible. So it's going to be almost that cost.
Well, that reminded me, last time when you made a change, you actually gave cards for free, and I remember either you or it was Odin asked me which faction I do, and I said all of them. And then gave me a big pile of cards, but I only haven't used 2 of them because I have all the rest. So all but 2 cards I had miniatures for.
Yeah. We did, in fairness, again look at the feasibility of doing a free card exchange.
Too many.
Exactly. The lines just got too big now that it become uneconomically sensible for us to do that. So
well,
hence
you
why
just have to be realistic. But
yeah, exactly. We want to be realistic. That's why we're trying to keep the cost as minimal as possible for those decks.
Okay. Ninjas.
Yes.
That's the only factions which I still don't collect.
Okay.
Are you going to release a starter set for it at some point?
There is no intention to release a starter set, predominantly because Ninja's been specialist models. Their rise cost is always quite high, which means to get a 35 in current version, 70 in the new version, it's quite difficult to squeeze that into a starter set of 70 rise. Hence why there's never really been a 35 or to be 70 point list. So
all of you ninjas are going to be like these really stereotypical black pajama clad.
No, not at all. There is some very cool mechanics and models that are coming out, but that won't be till the earliest first quarter of next year. There'll be some cool
because
different ninja
I
stuff.
would have loved to see some just patent clothing wearing ninjas.
Well, without giving too much away, we're working on a few variants, and a game mechanic. We will have some peasants on board. And one of them will actually be a ninja, so your opposing player won't even know which is a peasant and which one's actually a peasant disguised as a ninja. So they're still in development though, so they're still being obviously play tested. Yeah.
What about like really monstrous ninja, like from animated film Ninja Scroll?
Well, again, those are options, obviously, definitely. I mean, currently, because the ninjas aren't a faction per se in their whole right, they get very limited releases. So at the moment, there's 4 on the workbench and what will get released for them, and none of them are monstrous at the moment. But that doesn't mean there won't be.
So no ninjas with like a beehive on his back for yet.
Not yet, Not yet.
But you might.
On the yet. Yeah, definitely we might.
Because that is interesting.
It's quite cool. Yeah, definitely cool idea. Yeah.
Right. Are you planning to resculpt any of your early miniatures?
The short answer is yes.
You did one so far, Bikuku.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that definitely needed. The prefecture, very early prefecture models will definitely get some resculpt in the near future. And we're looking at a way that we can possibly resculpt most of the Ashigaru for the prefecture as well, just to bring them in line with the current models, etc.
What about Temple and the Cult?
Exactly.
Like the first Kickstarter.
Yeah, the Cult is not terrible. I still like quite a lot of those sculpts. The Temple is in the same vein, so lots of those will get. Master Akusa, for one, will definitely get a resculpt. The 2 rice farmers that were in the current set, although they'll get cards released in the new card pack, those 2 models will get discontinued, so they will no longer be available. So if you own the model, you'll still be able to play it because you have the cards. So they'll get re-released and resculpted, and Yumi and Kinka will at some point in the future get resculpted, but there's no immediate reference.
So it's going to be a separate miniatures, not starter.
Exactly, yeah. So
but that's cool.
Yes.
Okay, Ikusa is something I'm definitely looking for.
Yeah.
Even though I love the original one, I wouldn't mind, having like digitally produced
definitely,
Ikusa.
for sure, yeah.
New starters for all factions. That's basically I just asked you that. Oh, by the way, are you going to make new starter sets for old factions, just with different miniatures?
Partially yes and no. So all the starter sets are getting reconfigured. So some of them will be a combination of new models and possibly 1 or 2 of existing line models. It'll always be the more recent models.
Not from the original starter.
Not from the original starter set. Yeah, none of them. There's a couple of the starter sets that are getting totally resculpted. So Savage Wave being one of those. They're getting an entire new sculpted starter set. Exactly.
Okay, I'm interested.
The Tengu is getting a total resculpt, although there's nothing wrong with the Tengu models. In fact, they're some of my favorite models. But just the assembly of them can be a bit tricky at some points.
So they're going to be fairly similar, just redone to make them easier to...
Precisely, yeah, definitely.
Well, I already own the original Tengu one, so I probably won't bother with this one. But
there will be different models though, so they won't be like Zenkibo, and they're going to be entire different models.
Okay, then I might be interested.
And we're also skewing away, so most of the Tengu models that are out currently are from the main temples, and this is going to be more like a traveling party, so they will have a feel slightly different from the rest of the Tengu. As some of you may notice on the previews of the Ito models that are going to be in the 2-player set, you'll see they look and feel slightly different to the current Itos for the same reason.
Speaking of a 2-player set, I actually have a question here if there were going to be a 2-player set, but that was before I heard your interview at Adepticon. So the answer to that is yes.
Yes, definitely. It's going to be Ito in prefecture. It's going to be low model count, so probably 3 to 4 maximum per faction. There will be some tokens, quick start rulebook, and a little narrative campaign in it as well. So it's going to be kind of play out the box.
Could you tell me what's going to be, which faction going to be in the second 2-player set?
Not yet, I can't. But there is definitely a work on a 2-player starter set, a second 2-player starter set. Yes.
And also, last thing is not really a question, but it's more like thought of your opinion. Is it possible to play, for example, a Tengu force without Tengu, just with tribesmen?
Yes, there is. Now, with the latest 2 that have come out, so the Hill Tribe Trackers and Omik, the character version of them, you can actually make a 50 rice or 100 rice in the new version list just out of Hill Tribe Trackers, If you take all of them, pretty much, you have to...
Any more tribesmen coming out?
There will be, but they'll take, again, there won't be that many of them, to be honest with you, because obviously we don't want to bloat you within a faction.
More Hill ones?
There will be some alternate sculpts for the Hill Tribe to give you multiple posing, because obviously at the current we've only got the one, and there will be a couple of others that are in the line so that you have some variant list building if you choose to play just the Hill Tribe theme.
The other list I was thinking of is to play Temple just with anthropomorphic animals.
Okay.
Would that still be legit as well?
It will be. You can kind of do it even on this version if you play Kyubi, Kuma, Akari, and the Kitsune, and then you'll have to throw a Kami in there in the current version. If you're interested in that list, you'll be quite excited because there's quite a few more anamorphic animals that are coming down the line for the temple.
Any
as well.
examples? Which animals?
There's a few monkeys. I'm not saying which.
Awesome.
And primates. I'm not
Always
saying which
want
type.
more monkeys.
Yeah,
Always.
So yeah. And there's definitely, I can be 100% certain to tell you that there is another Kitsu model as well coming. So.
Is it gonna be like a kitsune with a fox head, or more humanoid one like the original one?
It's going to be along the lines of Kyubi, so you'll get more fox style. As opposed to humans with a fox head. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was very interesting, Gordon. Thank you very
no
much.
Problem at all. Nice.
And
Nice
I
to talk
will
to you.
see you next salute.
Definitely, always good to talk to you, man. Thanks for the time, man. Cheers.